DeSo is a layer one blockchain custom built to scale social networks to billions of users. Ethereum and Bitcoin do finance really well. DeSo does social media really well. Our mission is to decentralize social media the same way Bitcoin and Ethereum are decentralizing finance.
Hey everybody, you're listening to the Built on Web3 podcast, your on-ramp into the world of Web3. On this show, we chat with product leaders, builders, content creators, and business owners about how they're implementing Web3 strategies into their businesses. I hope you learned something new and enjoy today's episode. Today, we are super excited to chat with Ghaemi. He is the growth marketing lead at the Layer 1 blockchain DeSo. He also does marketing at DAO and has been actively working in the Web3 space for a few years now. DeSo is a new Layer 1 blockchain that's really cool. There's, I think, 200 apps built on it already, or probably more at this point. And it's built specifically for decentralized social applications. They launched in March 2021, have raised over $200 million, which is nuts, from investors like A16Z, Sequoia, Coinbase Ventures. So really excited to dive into that. But before we do, I'd really like to hear your Web3 story. How did you go from Web2 marketer to Web3 marketer?
Sure, yeah. So my marketing journey started about 10, 12 years ago. I was really into SEO because it was like all data and research, right? So I could dig into data, come up with a hypothesis, and test different marketing approaches. And at the time, if you're an SEO specialist, basically, you don't really have a portfolio like a designer, right? So you have to actually execute good marketing and then prove the data out to people, right? So at the time, I had created a sports blog because I was really, really into sports. It was like a daily fantasy sports blog. And basically what I did was I grew that organically. It hit 30,000 sessions a month. And then we monetized it, and then I eventually sold it. So basically, around 2017, I read a book called Ethereum, and the perfect day for that. And
happy merge day. We did it.
Yeah. Tell me about it. It was by Henning Diedrich, basically. And it really captured my imagination at the time. And I was like, wow, there's this world computer that can solve all these issues with money. That's why I sold my website to go all in on crypto. But I invested a bunch of money and I lost a bunch of money.
Yeah, 2017 wasn't the year to go all in on crypto.
Exactly, yeah. So suddenly I lost my motivation. I was going around telling people ETH is the future, crypto is the future, and then it crashed. So
that's funny.
I mean, everybody I felt so dumb, and during that time I was grinding through the agency world and making my way through Web2 marketing. And I landed at a digital agency called Integer, and I led Starbucks SEO for 2.5 years. I was the only SEO on the project for all their coffee at home products, wow. Basically. And I did really well for them. And then around 2020, I had a buddy who was like, hey, I'm going to start a Bitcoin hedge fund. Do you want to come be the director of strategy? And I was like, yeah, 100%. Here's my other entry into, crypto. And ever since I've been in crypto. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
What was it about? So crypto is usually kind of all of our on-ramps into the Web3 world. We kind of dabble in crypto a bit and then figure out that there's more there. What was it about Web3 that really caught your attention, that you really wanted to be a part of it?
Yeah, so Web3, it's just it's such an interesting term, and people bash it as a marketing term, but it's so perfect and clean for new people. And I feel like crypto was it was really hard to get creative people into it. It was very tech heavy, and it wasn't very approachable. If you mentioned crypto, people would be oh, code, mm-hmm. I have to learn and get a master's in comp sci before I understand it. And then crypto or Web3 is for creators. They come in creative first. Creators can understand NFTs, and then they back into crypto, and then they learn along the way. with the early days of crypto, it's like you had to learn the tech and then you had to figure out like the creative aspect, right? So there's a lot less friction with Web3. Um, and Web3 like encompasses all the underlying technology. That's how I see it, basically. It's like if you say Web3, it's like, you know, tokens, creator coins, like NFTs, crypto, and it's just like that one term Web3. So I was like, okay, so Web3 is like the natural evolution of the internet as well, right? I can totally get that. And I think like Web3 makes it easier for us to get to mass adoption versus like if you're coming in from the crypto angle.
Totally. Yeah. So it sounds like your first role in Web3 and crypto as like a career was at this Bitcoin hedge fund doing strategy. What was that like, and how long were you working on that?
Yeah, so it's called Two Prime Digital Assets, and we managed Bitcoin and Ethereum for high net worth individuals. And basically, they just like came up with like a trading strategy with like options to like earn on volatility, right?
Okay.
So you can kind of like hedge. And at the time, like Ethereum wasn't like very popular at the time, at least from an institutional investor perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like tasked with like coming up with the strategy, rebranding, and doing all the marketing and like messaging and positioning. So I did a little bit of everything. And I noticed like data at the time that like there was like institutional adoption of Ethereum. Like I was looking at on-chain data. I was like, dude, this data is like screaming that like there's big whales like buying Ethereum. And that was that it was like mid 2020. I started working there a little bit late 2020, I think September maybe. And I was like telling them that, and I was like showing them the data, and I was like, hey, listen, I think it would be really cool if you made like a research report. No one's talking about this. I think like it'll get you like the attention of like institutional investors and high net worth individuals. That's who we're going after. So like let's cut through the noise and like be an industry leader. So basically like I found the data, we created the report. It's called Rise of Institutional Ethereum Investors. It's still on there. You can download it. We did a webinar and we did the report, and we collabed with Glassnode at the time too. So we like knocked it out of the park with this report. I mean, it ended up on Mark Cuban's desk. He read it. He like gave us a shout out and stuff. Had like 3 million impressions on Twitter, and we got a ton of leads. And I imagine, we had some good inflows at the time too. So shortly after that, I left because I was like doing pretty well with, it was a bull run and investments, and I kind of wanted to do my own thing.
So you went all in on crypto again, and then it crashed.
Yeah. I like tripled down on crypto, and then it crashed. And later that year. So here we go.
That's awesome.
Old habits die hard. Yeah.
So what did you do next? When did you hop into doing growth marketing in Web3? What was your first kind of, I guess, paid role or first time making money as a growth marketer?
Yeah, I started doing like consulting. So I did some consulting with the Defiant at the time.
Okay.
And they were coming up with like, a growth marketing team. First, they approached me. They're like, hey, we need some SEO. We need a little bit of everything. I was like, I'm your guy. Then they're like, no, we want to do a team. So I took on like paid ads, and I was with them for like a few months. And the paid ads experiment was just an experiment, right? Paid ads are very hostile against crypto. They've been like that for a very long time. So we would like run ads at 2 Prime as well. And like it was a 50-50 shot whether they would get suspended or not, So some ads would get suspended, some wouldn't. Well, that carried over to the Defiant with Twitter. And I just came to the conclusion at the end. I was like, hey, listen, like, I really don't think paid ads are the way to go. Like you should really just, go all in on organic, that's how Camilla, scaled her business is 100% organic. She just needed to like fix some of the UX and revamp the content creation. They're doing really, really well at the time. They're doing really, really well now. So I left there. I did some consulting with like this Swiss crypto bank that had like a stable coin for a little bit. I did some like consulting for like NFT projects. also for like some DAOs as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, I landed at DeSo, which they found me on Twitter and LinkedIn. So like, you know, as like kind of a creator, you know, that kind of legitimized what I was like trying to do, you know?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. So give us the
Yeah.
rundown on DeSo. What's the grand vision and what gets you so excited about it?
Yeah, so DeSo is a layer one blockchain custom built to scale social networks to billions of users. So the best way I can explain it, it's like Ethereum or like Bitcoin, but for social apps, basically. So basically, it's custom built for social media instead of finance. So Ethereum and Bitcoin do finance like really well. DeSo does social media really well. So basically, our mission is to decentralize social media the same way Bitcoin and Ethereum are decentralizing finance. And like, why do you need to like move social media to a blockchain? Like, what's the point? We already have these like big tech incumbents and stuff, and you know they have like a huge monopoly. Well, the way you got to look at it is like social media is more centralized than finance was when Bitcoin was invented, and there's really only 3 to 5 corporations that control what we see and hear online. And you can kind of see like the effect it can have on society for better or for worse if it falls into the wrong hands. And they basically monopolize all discourse online. So they run on something called the ads driven business model. Okay. So it's like us as content creators and podcast creators, whatever, we post content online to one day maybe make some pennies on our creations, right? So we have to like grind content for months, sometimes years, right? In addition to our part-time jobs or day jobs or whatever else, to one day cut through the noise and monetize, right? And you know how tough that can be as a creator, right? You're always trying to iterate, you're always trying to like create content no one's creating to get clicks. You have to balance between, you know, clicks and creations and like not being too clicky. And you know, but what if you could just like flip that on the head and like creators could own the network and they could monetize from day one and there were no ads or anything, right? So big tech makes billions, right? Billions of dollars a year, and like we're the product, right? So like, what if like the creators and the users, you know, own the network and they could monetize from day one without needing 50,000 followers? And that's like one of the big things that DeSo enables.
Well, I thought the other cool thing about DeSo, and it's just like all these other open platforms, is that if you are a developer and you want to contribute something, you also don't have that cold start where you're just starting from anew. You can actually leverage what other people have already created. So it just like catalyzes and jumpstarts everything that you could possibly ever dream of from a entrepreneurship or like creator standpoint.
100%. So I'm glad you mentioned that because it's like big tech started open, right? Like these social platforms started open and they built like a massive like moat of data and users and then they closed off, right? So it's like, what does that do? Like what effect does that have on social media and society? Well, like it caps the upside and it stifles innovation, right? Mm-hmm. So we haven't innovated in social media. You know, it's been stuck in time for, you know, 10 years, really. And like they monopolize that. And like there's always stories about like, you know, big tech, you know, snatching up talent and they just snatch up talent to snatch it up so they don't like go to another company and like innovate something. So they like, you know, they hire like the best talent from like Ivy League schools and they give them like one thing and then their like skill set rots. At least, you know, that's what some of my friends from, you know, working at LinkedIn and stuff told me. So like there's this lack of innovation. There's this wall where like founders and developers can't like build. So like what are the options really?
So one of the things that comes up, and we haven't talked about it yet, but I'm so excited to chat about it, is part of this whole like account suspension censorship piece that you see in the big tech world, and how DeSo and platforms like DeSo are censorship resistant. there might not be anything that's censorship proof, but can you talk to us about that particular topic and how that all works?
Sure. Yeah. So the key word here is censorship resistance, right? So if you store all content on the blockchain, your digital identity on the blockchain, it's 100% open source. No one can really delete your content or delete you, right? So it all exists on the blockchain forever. However, like that doesn't mean like, any wild conspiracy theory can, go wild and, uh, there's better moderation when you store all content on the blockchain. So on DeSo, we can't like really deplatform you or delete you, but if there's an app like a social network that wants to focus on like, you know, only like climate change, or they want to focus on like cricket, there's a cricket social network going up, and they want to remove all content from those social platforms that don't talk about that stuff, then you can, prevent that from happening. And then that content can go anywhere, anywhere else on DeSo. We can't really delete it. So if there's like bad content that people don't like, you can still moderate it more efficiently that way. It's still stored on the blockchain, but it doesn't have to like go viral or anything, So
If we can create an analogy just to like help better understand for me and other people, if these applications are like mini Facebooks, for example, they could say we don't want this type of content, or we want to have this type of filter or this type of moderation. They could implement that themselves, but it's the thing that your content doesn't just disappear for forever. It still lives with like on DeSo, but it's just not on that specific application. And more so, you probably have the ability to build businesses that are just filters or moderators, and those can be shared amongst different applications that then like subscribe to this type of moderation or that stuff too. Is that right?
Yeah, 100%. You could make like moderation communities or like moderation DAOs that are only focused on, moderating certain types of content. And maybe like to dig in a little bit more, like how like Web2 social media works. Like if you post this on Twitter, you don't own that tweet, right? You don't own any of your content. It just like goes into their centralized servers, right? So they can do whatever they want with it, right? We can't really delete your content or do whatever we want with it. It's stored on the blockchain forever, right? So if it goes into Twitter's servers, like centralized servers, they get to determine like what content is good or bad, right? So if like a certain political party took over a Web2 platform, then they could delete content that counters their narrative, whether it's good or bad. But like, who are we to decide what's good or bad for like society? And like, there's all this crazy stuff coming up right now regarding Twitter about like questionable practices. There's questionable security. That whistleblower just came out and said there's no like, there's nothing for like accountability for like user data. It just like goes somewhere. And like, really, you could go in there and just like take user data, or you could just like delete tweets, or you could ban someone. And there's like no real way of like accountability. So like, where are the checks and balances? Like, why can't the checks and balances be run by the community or moderation communities or moderation DAOs? And they determine like what should be moderated or not.
Yeah, I really like that. I think something you said in there was really important, is that moderation is easier if it's stored on chain, right? Because everything is public, all the posts are public, and like you said, in like the case of Twitter, it's a walled garden and we can't see all the data. We can't see everything that we need to see to be able to moderate effectively. And so I think it's really important. But I want to like dive into this a little more, is on like the specifics of how this works. So let's say there's an app that's built for, you said cricket, for example. They only want cricket posts, so they moderate everything that's not cricket. Is that how that works?
Yeah, essentially, like that app can be like, I don't really want any cat photos like popping up on our feed or anything like that. It's like we just want to focus, unless it's a cat photo with like a cricket uniform or something. Like, we want to 100% focus on. We want to narrow our focus, and it's only cricket. Like, we want to make the most popular cricket social network in the world. So that's all we're going to focus on, and we're going to program our app on top of DeSo to filter out these other like things that counter it. We don't want football, we don't want rugby, we only want these specific things. And like you can see like on chain, like whether we're moderating in an honest way or a dishonest way, like it's all there on chain. Like there's like a couple cases right now with Twitter that people got banned and deplatformed, and then they went to court and they won, and now they're back on the platform, right? So who's going to stop that from happening again? Whether those people are good or bad, it's just not up to us. Whether it's like good cricket content or not good cricket content, it's up to that node and that app to decide how they want to format it. So
the cool thing is that content still lives. It might not be on this little cricket niche, because maybe this cricket group gets really into cats that are into cricket, and then the other faction says, no, we're the originalists, like pure cricket. So they could still create their own. And the coolest thing is that they can almost immediately, it sounds like, spin that up, as opposed to trying to migrate all these users over, because the data's everywhere.
Yeah, it's node by node, right? So the other example that popped up is like, redefining the word, changing words or definitions of words. And this isn't a political statement. I could really care about either side, but we saw the like recession stuff come up, like changing the definition of a recession. I don't know if you saw that. Like somebody went on Wikipedia and changed it. And like the definition of a recession was the same for I don't know how long. I don't know that much about financial history, but suddenly it's changed, right? Overnight. So like, what if like, like who's changing that? There's like some checks and balances in Wikipedia, but like, what if it was all on chain and there was like a moderator or somebody changing things, and they had like a history of like questionable, content changes, or like, changing definitions in a weird way, and then you could like catch that a little bit sooner, versus like, I think Wikipedia is somewhat anonymous here and there, so then you could moderate that user and be like, hey, like maybe you're not the best for this node. Maybe you're like making questionable decisions. But you can start your own node. You can start your own social network and do whatever you want with it. So
switching gears a little bit, DeSo, like what's your business model? Because at the end of the day, you need to make money somehow. You've raised a bunch of money. How do you make money?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question right now. Right now we're like in startup mode. So we're just trying to find the next killer app to bring 1 million users to the DeSo blockchain right now. So you don't really know what that is per se, but we're trying to create conditions to bring people to the chain. So to create that app. So basically, like there's like multiple different models. There's like a fee-based model. So we make a portion of every transaction on chain, basically. We could create our own apps as well that create fees. It's the blockchain business model. So it's like there's no ads or anything like that. So we're not making money on ads. So anybody can like build on DeSo. They can collect fees, and we can collect a percentage of the fees as well. So that's like the main kind of like focus and business model. I mean, you can look at Ethereum, basically fee-based business model. It flips the ads-driven business model on its head as well. So,
yeah, and I think that's really smart, the approach you've taken in terms of how easy it is for developers to build on DeSo. Because I was looking at it, and you don't even need to use any Web3 technology necessarily to even build your DeSo app, which is really, really cool. And I think that brings in so many more people that didn't think that they could build a Web3 app because they'd have to learn smart contracts and Solidity.
100%. So you can use your Web2 skill set on DeSo to build in Web3. everybody who builds on DeSo basically says how easy it is to build on DeSo compared to like Ethereum. And not to say like smart contracts are bad or anything. We're trying to go like the anti-tribal route, really. So we're building towards like an interoperable future. But like, if you're a Web 2 developer, like, what's the like learning curve to learn smart contracts in Web 3? I think it's about like 1 to 2 years to really start getting proficient in it and like building meaningful apps. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about that. Like the first year, you're kind of just like struggling to figure it out. But with like DeSo, how we built it is just like all API based. So like you can kind of jump in right away and start building apps.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I think there's over 200, maybe 300 apps built on DeSo already. Are there any like, what are your favorite apps on DeSo right now that you're particularly excited about?
If you go to signup.deso.org and /explore, and it'll pop up some of our best apps. Like these are some of the best apps in our ecosystem. And okay, so the top left is like the go-to app in the ecosystem. It's our decentralized Twitter. So like you see Elon Musk right now, he's kind of like battling to like take over Twitter and like make it more like, I think he's trying to like make it more Web3 friendly in a sense. And he's talked about open sourcing the algorithm, and you can sign up with one click with Google. That's the easiest way to do it, so you don't have to worry about like the seed stuff. But and I won't see your password or anything. So, but basically, yeah, I mean, it's like it's stored. Well, I see your seed now, so you might have to like change that eventually. But
now everyone's gonna hack into my DeSo.
yeah, everyone's gonna hack into your DeSo. So yeah, it's like a Web3 Twitter essentially, and you can post on chain. You can earn diamonds. You can mint NFTs. You have your DeSo wallet on there, so it's not like a separate wallet. It's integrated with your diamond account as well.
Okay.
And of course, like everything's stored on chain, so it's not going to get deleted or anything like that. And like transactions on DeSo cost 1/10,000th of a penny, essentially. So it's like basically zero gas fees, like zero cost. If you tweeted on Ethereum, it would cost like $80, right? So could you imagine like if like trying to scale Twitter with Ethereum, it just probably wouldn't happen. I mean, it's an interesting social experiment to like have to think through your tweets where they would cost $80. Cause like, what if like, I don't know how that would change, Twitter, but it would be like an interesting experiment. But yeah, I mean, like that's like the best app. That's the go-to app. Mm-hmm. That's where you can kind of connect with the most people. And I love how the sign-up flow is working. We've just been working on this for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. So when it starts here, we'll kind of I'll show you kind of like the UI.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so, this is nice and clean. Wow.
Yep. Yeah, super clean, super simple. And if you said like, hi, I'm new to DeSo, you'll get a bunch of diamonds. Like everybody loves giving diamonds to new people. But yeah, you get a little DeSo for, entering your phone number as well. On the right, you have, daily hashtags, you have a creator coin. So people can buy your creator coin essentially. Okay. So if you're a creator and like someone like sees potential in you, then they can just like invest in you, right? So like you can invest in startups and stuff. So why can't you invest in creators? Like if somebody thinks this podcast is going to like grow like really big one day, like why not buy your creator coin today, right? So
is that something that's native to DeSo, or is that something that was built into this app?
It's native, like money native features are native. Wow. Yeah, it's all native to DeSo. So like we built diamonds into this app. So but yeah, I mean like everything like you need to like monetize as a creator is built into DeSo with like as minimal friction as possible. Like we have a guy on the platform. So basically he was on Twitter and he got banned. He had 1.2 million followers.
Wow.
And he never made a dime on Twitter, right? Because like Twitter never had like a monetization feature for creators or anything, right? They were one day going to let you monetize, right? But they're on Diamond now. If you search Krasenstein twins, if you go to search,
Thomas, you were just talking about them.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do a lot of
there you go.
DeSo. They do a lot of DeSo content.
Oh yeah. So they make. I mean, they're a really great example. They make several hundred a day. You know,
Nice.
Not everybody's gonna like make that much to start. I mean, some people make 30 cents. Like sometimes they make 10 cents a post. Sometimes they make $5. They're like the best example of like what you can do on DeSo if you're just like a consistent creator. And they only have 20,000 followers. They had 1.2 million on Twitter.
How do they make money though? By just posting, or how do they make money?
Yeah, so they make money on their creator coin. So you can set a founder's reward. So you can change your creator coin reward to like every time someone buys my creator coin, I make 5%, right? I earn 5% of that. And then the other way they make money is they just post. They earn diamonds every day. And then the diamonds you can cash out into crypto or fiat. So you can like stack DeSo or you can off ramp onto Coinbase in a USDC, and that's how they make money.
So yeah, just so I'm understanding this correctly, so the Krasenstein twins here are posting on DeSo, and they can earn something that you guys have created called diamonds. Right. Can you kind of dive into like more specifically what that means?
So like a diamond is just like a currency, right? So that's like denominated in like DeSo, right? So if somebody gives you a diamond, they give you like an amount in DeSo that you can just like either stack in DeSo, or you can just like cash out into dollars, or you could, trade for another crypto. I
see. So it's the equivalent of giving the DeSo coin.
Similar to a like?
Okay. On
like a Facebook or Twitter or what?
You can still like, it's separate from a like. It's like, hey, like, you get 50 likes on Twitter. That is like reinforcing psychologically that you're doing the right thing. And it also tells the Twitter algorithm that, you're worthwhile and we should show your content more, right? On DeSo, it's like you can get a like and you can get a diamond. So if someone like really likes your post, then they'll give you a diamond.
That's
right?
Cool.
If they just like your post, they won't give you a diamond,
and that goes directly
to
you,
like
essentially then.
Goes directly to you. So like right here, you have your DeSo wallet. If you go to my wallet on the left, right here, below, there you go. So it'll go in here, right? You'll have your amount in here. And again, like if you make 10 cents, a day or something, and a transaction's 1/10,000th of a penny, like you got a lot of runway as a creator, basically. Quite a bit. But if you wanted to make like real money and you make $1 a day, $2 a day, and you're consistent, you can actually earn as a creator from day one without needing 50,000 followers. You could have like a few followers.
Well, it's funny. Thomas was pointing out to me, he's like, man, these I'm going to get their name wrong, Krasenstein twins post so much on YouTube, but they get like 70 views on their videos, and we couldn't figure out, like, we were just surprised at the lack of views and engagement on YouTube, but it makes sense because they're making money on here, so they don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, they could do like little things on YouTube too, like thumbnails and stuff.
And that stuff.
Yeah. But they just, the thing about the Krasenstein twins is like they're doing the bare minimum on YouTube. We've already talked to them about it. They just want to post DeSo stuff on there and their own stuff on there. And then if it grows, it grows. So,
yep, that makes sense. So, okay, so I'm looking at their profile here. We've seen this diamond thing where I can basically just give them money because I like that post. What is this buy thing here?
So that's their creator coin. So you could buy their creator coin right now. So you could be like, wow, like the Krasenstein twins are crushing it. They post every day. Like it's a bear market. I think, one day their creator coin price could be 500 instead of 225. So let's buy it.
Cool.
Right? Let's buy their
Yep.
coin and let's invest in them because they're going to be like big Web3 creators. Right now, they're only in the DeSo ecosystem, or they're only popular in the DeSo ecosystem. However, in the future, as DeSo grows, gets more users, their coin's going to be worth way more. So I'm going to buy a portion of their, creator coin right now. You don't have to buy a full creator coin; you can buy a portion. So.
Yeah, and that's really cool because as a creator, I'm assuming you can set this reward that you get as a percentage of the creator coin. So they've set it to 9.9%. So every time someone purchases their coin, they get 9.9% of that. But as the consumer of the content, I'm investing in them, and I think they're going to become more valuable over time.
100%. So your founder's reward, that right down there, starts at 100%. And then, so the psychology there is like, hey, like I'm going to post as a creator first, earn trust and show people I make good content before lowering my founder's reward. So once people see me enough, then I'm going to lower my founder's reward and raise funds as a creator, and then you lower it to like 5%, or you could do like creator coin sales and be like, hey, I'm lowering it to 1% today, buy my creator coin. So
wow. So there's a whole business model, like totally new business model that's being unlocked for creators that was previously impossible. And it kind of also stems a little bit on this idea of microtransactions, because previously you wouldn't be able to do that ever.
100%. I mean, the internet was built on macro. It was like built on bigger transactions. It couldn't do microtransactions before, but the blockchain business model unlocked microtransactions. So it unlocks whole new business models for creators, founders, and developers that never before existed.
Yeah, this brings me to kind of this question of that I'm trying to figure out is what is the difference between something like DeSo and something like Lens Protocol? I know you're pretty much direct competitors. Lens isn't its own blockchain, obviously. Can you kind of talk about what's the difference from your guys' perspective? Because I know the Lens Protocol people have a perspective on DeSo where they basically say, oh, like DeSo is totally focused on the speculative nature of creator coins and investing in creators. I guess what would your response to that criticism from them be?
Yeah, they're not their own chain, right? So they're built on a finite state blockchain, right? So Ethereum was built to disrupt finance and decentralize finance. It wasn't built to decentralize social media, right? I think you can respect as like, engineers, developers, founders, creators, the UX issues that come about if you're trying to like force something. It's like, imagine trying to like force a Ferrari engine into a Prius, right? It's like, it's just not going to work, right? So
it'd be exciting though.
It would be exciting to try. I mean, it would make a great YouTube video, very clicky, right? So
DeSo videos.
Exactly. Yeah. So like a finite state blockchain basically means like it stores financial transactions. So you really need to only store the starting balance and the ending balance, right? DeSo is what we call an infinite state blockchain. So it's designed to store storage heavy applications like social media applications. The data is different, right? So their solution is, and again, like Ethereum and Bitcoin, they reinvented finance. They're doing a great job doing that. So basically, their solution is to create a layer, is to build on top of a layer 2, right? So Polygon, right? So, I mean, if you understand UX, like if you create more steps and more friction in the process, it's going to hurt the user experience, right? There's no way around it. So if you have to sign every transaction and there's like an extra step for users, I mean, like that's the big problem we're having for Web3 right now is like getting users onto the platform and to use the apps and regularly, right? So you're creating an extra step on a layer 2, without getting in the technical weeds. And that just it causes more friction. So and then the other thing is like for them to say like we're just focused on the speculative nature of creator coins. That's fair. That was at the time, like we had a prototype to show what we could do on DeSo, but we have several other apps. Like we have way more apps now that do all sorts of other things. So the creator coin is like really one feature, right? It's not the be all end all feature. So we've evolved quite a bit since then. And so that's like old news. That's like the best response. Yep. And when you're like focused 100% on one thing, doing one thing really well, I think the work speaks for itself in regards to quality. And the other thing is like, look at Web2 social media. Like there's like so many different social media platforms out there. There's not one social media platform to rule them all. I mean, like Facebook is the giant, right? But like a lot of people use Twitter. A lot of people use LinkedIn. Creators post on all the platforms, right? But imagine what it would be like if like as a creator, like you eliminated those friction points of having to like the cold start problem you mentioned, Thomas, like where you had to reinvent your audience on every single platform, right? You could focus that creative energy on actually creating great content versus like, how do I solve this algorithm again to build a new audience for YouTube Shorts? Do I just upload my TikTok videos to YouTube Shorts? Like, how's the algorithm different? And like, Twitter content doesn't work on Facebook. LinkedIn content doesn't work on Twitter, So it's like, we solve a lot of those things with DeSo compared to like Lens, which is a social network built on top of a layer 2 or layer 1 or layer 2. And they're kind of social, but they're kind of finance as well.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it sounds like one of the biggest differences here is that you guys have built a chain to be able to utilize large data, right? And so if I'm understanding this correctly, the data, is it all stored on chain? Like if I post a video, is that stored on chain, or do I link to it on a decentralized server?
Yeah. So it's stored on chain. So basically what we think is like the future of blockchains or special purpose blockchains, and the computing power happens off chain while all the content is stored on chain. So that's like what we're betting on. And like, you're seeing some of that pop up right now, like other chains are like mentioning that. That's the future. Because like, you look at Bitcoin, you can't scale Bitcoin to do social media apps. They don't even want to do social media apps. They have like one thing they're really good at. And you want to talk about UX, they do that thing really, really good, hyper focus on that. Bitcoin's a huge success. So, but yeah, that's the future of blockchain, computing power off chain, content on chain.
And so I'm understanding that correctly too. So the current implementation on, let's say, Ethereum, the smart contract is where the computation is happening. And what the stance that you guys are taking is you want to offload that so that the computation happens off chain, which I believe is you're calling smart services. Is that correct?
Yeah, smart services basically just like enables like Web2 developers to build on Web3. So like with smart services, right? So,
okay.
Going back to a little bit of the business model stuff, there's this thought that crossed my mind, and I really want to know. So from a business standpoint, you have the financial incentives of making this work just like the other blockchains do. But what's the incentive for investors to invest in DeSo? And then the other question here, and I hope this is not insulting or any way, but it's interesting that the same investors that you have here at DeSo are also the same ones that also invested in these Web2 centralized kind of competitors that you have into Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, X, everything like that, from A16Z to Sequoia. So you have the hallmarks of Web2 investors. What's in it for investors today, and how do you differ from that so that this also doesn't become centralized in some way?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. That's a question that's popping up all the time. So why should investors invest in DeSo? So like, what if you could invest and own a piece of Facebook, you know, when Zuckerberg was building it in his dorm room for, you know, for his college, and that's it. And you're like, and you thought through the chess of Facebook and you're like, wow, we're building it for college, but it could actually be much bigger than that. So what if you could invest in a social network that could have 1 billion users or millions of users? Maybe we don't get to 1 billion. Maybe we just get to 1 million. And that means your DeSo will be worth a lot of money one day, right? And in regards to like A16Z and all the other VCs and stuff, the way I kind of see it is like they're investors, right? They're investors. They're trying to profit first and foremost. So if you think about the investor mindset, they're also trying to hedge, right? They're hedging in like a million different ways. So they're betting on the future of the internet being Web3, right? So they're betting on all these users leaving Web2 because they want to join an internet that's creator owned and user led and open to millions of developers, right? So from their perspective, they're just hedging their bets, right? But then it comes like to the idea of like, then won't they just own that network? They will like, it becomes less of an issue. It's more like, it becomes more of like a toll road in a sense, where they own the tolls, right? They can charge the tolls and stuff like that. But it's open source software. So who's to say that, you know, developers aren't going to build around that, right? Or build their own apps around that too. So they're hedging their bets, but there's still like a upside there that we don't know what's going to happen. So they have the money, you know, they can make the early bets, but not all those early bets win either. You know, we don't know what's going to happen. So, but because it's 100% open source, like we still have the power to build around that, right? We can still kind of do whatever. So in my mind, it's like, you know, maybe it doesn't solve like all the issues like of like the former big tech monopolies. And now, you know, some people are saying, oh, they're going to monopolize Web3, but there's more paths to victory for decentralized networks and communities. And than there was in Web2, where like you tweet or create content, it goes in a centralized server. They can monetize your content any way they like, and then they make billions and you get peanuts. So let's just say we go to Web3 and they make millions, but we make 6 figures, or we also make millions, you know? There's just like more ways to win. So that's kind of like how I think about it. I think it's like valid, and like we really don't know what's going to happen. We really don't have all the answers, but that's kind of like, that's my mindset.
Gotcha. What's the one last follow-up question, and I promise I won't bring it up again. What do you think like the end goal is? Because you said like, hey, like if you come in, if you were in the, you know, the dorm room with Zuck to build Facebook, and you got in and that could grow to be really big and worth a lot of money one day. It was worth a lot of money one day because they also became public, you know, and, you know, went to the stock market and such. But because DeSo is decentralized, can I go to like, how what's the exit strategy of like an investor? Like how'd they get their money's worth out of that? Or is that like a very deep topic?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very good question. And I mean, there's like multiple ways you could really think of it. They could dump on us if they wanted. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's like that's the easy answer. I mean, it's like a frictionless environment. So they could dump on us, and that's, you know, that's the reality. Or they could, you know, it's like Ethereum has all these DeFi tools, right? So like now they're incentivized to stay on the platform through proof of stake to earn, you know, yield to secure the network. And then now they have a business model, so they don't ever want to leave, which means the coin goes up and then more people join the network and they can earn more money.
Becomes a cash cow or so forth from that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Sorry for all the hard questions. I was really curious too.
Yeah, I mean, it's super valid, but yeah, I think those are the two simple ones. I think it gets more complex than that. And we just don't know all the answers yet. So.
For any growth marketers that might be listening to this, what would your advice be to them if they're thinking about getting into Web3, or it interests them, but maybe they're a little afraid to go down the rabbit hole? Like, what's the best way for growth marketers that are in Web2 mainly to make that leap into Web3?
That's a really, really good question. And there's a lot to unpack there, right? So if if you want to work in, we'll start with like the positives and then we'll go to the negatives of working in Web3 as a growth marketer. So the positives is like it's a blank canvas for marketing. Like honestly, we're building it, we're building the plane as we're flying it, right? So we're creating all the rules. And like there's a lot of cool things you can do as a marketer, right? It's like it's open source, and you can, I mean, it's ownership. It's about ownership and decentralization. So you can own your work in a way that you never could before. And if they want to get into Web3 as a marketer, I would just suggest like using the apps, like use Ethereum, use Solana, use DeSo, try Diamond, try DAO. These are all marketing tools, right? In a way, NFTs are marketing tools, right? So you have this like massive toolkit. You almost have too much firepower as like a Web3 marketer. So like you have to like narrow your focus and like figure out like what's going to work, because you can get really distracted. And so those are like the positives. So I would say try it out. There's a lot of upside. And okay, so here's the downsides. Like everything's on chain, everything's out in the open, like all the data's there, So if you're a loser, you're a loser. Like someone's gonna throw data in your face, right? And be like, well, your user base it's going down for 3 months. What the hell are you gonna do about it? And like all summer we got hammered because our DAUs were down, and like because it's community owned and user led, everybody has an idea about what's going to work with marketing, right? And the problem with marketing is like it's all the little things that add up over time that like result in great marketing. You have to build a solid foundation. You have to earn trust. You have to earn authority. You have to build a brand. So you have a lot of people coming to you with like these short-term like marketing tactics, trying to tell you what to do. Some of them are really great ideas. Some of them are not great ideas. So it's like, and then the stakes are higher because if you build an on-chain reputation and you mess up, your on-chain reputation lives on blockchain forever. So if I'm on DeSo and I'm like posting content, and as a growth marketing lead, I mess up or I get fired or let go or something like that, like where does my trust go on chain? It's like, are people going to interact with my content on Diamond app anymore if, DeSo let me go? And it's like less forgiving, right? Than like a traditional Web2 marketing agency or something like that. Like you have more rope to mess up. I feel like they'll talk to you, like they'll take you to HR and stuff like that. Like they'll course correct. And Web3, man, if you're not performing, you're out of here. It's like, you could spin up another Anon account and start posting, I guess, but still, it's just like I don't know.
You'll dox yourself eventually. Like I just shared my seed phrase with the world on here.
Yeah.
There you go. You're screwed. Yeah, it's gone. Yep.
So marketing in Web3, it seems like, at least right now, what people are saying is like community first. That's how you build everything. And you've advised for some NFT projects and done some marketing, it seems like, for projects like that. Do you think that's going to be the long-term solution, is community first? Or do you think that's kind of like the growth hack of the moment?
That's a tough one. I think it's a mix of both, because there's some like really well-known developers and marketers that have come out, whether like openly or like anonymously, and said like, you can't let the community make big decisions. Otherwise they're going to drive the project into the ground. Okay. And then there's other people who are like, no, it always has to go to the community. Like we have to go to the community, whoever contributes, whoever votes, then we're going to make a decision. So it's like really tough. I think it is a growth hack, really, to get, a group of people with like an aligned vision, because they're going to like your content. They're going to help your brand grow. Your impressions are going to grow. However, like we're still so early, like in the process, it's like hard to tell, right? So one of the biggest things that like sticks out, we did like an interview with the Boys Club. It's like a DAO to bring women in Web3.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And yeah. So they said something really cool. They're like, keep your DAO lean for like the contributors. And I'm probably butchering the quote, but the idea was like, create a DAO of like a small group of like action takers and contributors, but like, create a big DAO to help people like expand your brand and raise awareness. And those people can be a part of the DAO, but they might not want to contribute, and that's okay, right? So there's that aspect as well, that people are like, I believe in the vision of Boys Club, and maybe I don't want to contribute, but I think this is fun watching this play out. And that's not like it's not like a value extraction approach. I think like in the middle of the bull run, it was some of the projects were very predatory. They're just trying to extract value out of the community and pump up their coin price or their NFT price, and then they dump on them and leave. I think like the new model is like create like a group of like action takers, but like open it up to everybody. Moondao, I don't know if you've heard about Moondao. All their content and all their messages are completely out in the open. So they have like the highest participation for voting. It's still really low. It's only like 3% of people vote on DAO stuff who are members of the DAO. But yeah, isn't that crazy?
It's a high voter turnout, 3%.
But they have, of I think 11,000 people. So it's like nothing. But that's not to say like some people just want to be along for the ride, and they believe in the mission of sending people to space and colonizing the moon. And these people own the coin, and they want to own the coin, and they can sell whenever they want and leave if they don't believe in the mission. And all the messaging between the people who do contribute is completely transparent and out in the open. I don't really see any problem with that model per se, as long as like you're really transparent about it and be like, hey, listen, like there's like a small group of action takers in here. If you guys want to come along for the ride, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, last question here, and then we'll let you go. I just realized we're over time. If you could kind of look into a crystal ball, maybe 5 years ahead, what is like the best case scenario for DeSo? Like, what's the dream in 5 years? And then maybe what are you most excited about in Web3?
Yeah. So in 5 years, we hit our mission of 1 billion users and extract all these users from Twitter and Facebook. And we're the go-to decentralized social network. And we have 1,000 apps that are creator-led, user-owned, where founders and developers can build on it freely. That's the dream in 5 years. If we could hit that, then I'd be really, really happy. And as far as like Web3, I think like the idea of ownership, like owning my content, having more ways to monetize, like the concept of owning the internet, whether it's real or not, like gets me really excited. Whether like I own a piece of the internet and A16Z owns like 50% of it, but I own like 1% of it and I have more options.
But you're partners with them,
yeah. Okay, well, whatever other VC, like if they own the internet or something like that, and I own a percentage of it, and I can like freely create, and I can focus on more creative pursuits instead of tedious tasks. Like, I think Web3, the upside is like the future of work. Like you saw the Great Resignation. You see people fighting to go back into the office. You see people questioning their day job just to make ends meet. They're looking for some more meaning, and so am I, right? And I think Web3 has the potential to create that meaning in my life. I think we're creative beings. Like we weren't meant to do some of these like desk jobs and stuff. And I think that's why we're on this, webinar and podcast today, is like you want to do something else. I mean, you love your jobs, but you want to do more. And I think Web3 provides that. It provides that upside. I don't know how it's going to play out, but that's what gets me up in the morning. That's what gets me excited about Web3.
Love it. Well, hey, thanks again for spending time with us today. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Chat soon. Yeah, it was fun.